Hey everyone, welcome back. Austin here. I'm at the Alaska Fish House in our Cook Your Catch kitchen. And today I'm going to show you how to cook a black rockfish with just a few simple ingredients. You can see here we have a beautiful black rockfish where I've removed the scales. We catch all different kinds of species of rockfish. This is actually one of my favorites, and this is a really nice size to showcase cooking the fish whole. Today we're going to make a salt crust with egg whites and salt. Completely cover the fish with that, and we're going to, inside the cavity of the fish, we're going to stuff it with a little bit of lemons and kelp. And that's not only going to help flavor the fish, but it's also going to help the fish stand up straight as we're roasting it. So the salt crust is two simple ingredients. It's egg whites and salt, and it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every 2 parts egg white, 1 part salt. So here I have 6 egg whites and 3 cups of salt, and I'm going to whip the egg whites into a stiff peak, and then after fold in 3 cups of salt before we put it on the fish. We'll start slow so the egg whites don't come out of the bowl, and as they increase in volume we can turn up the speed. So the egg whites are going to turn from that transparent to a stiff peak and a really bright white color. Alright, so the last step to the salt crust is you can see we've achieved our stiff peaks with the egg white. We're going to add our salt, and we're going to slightly incorporate that. We're not going to mix too much because we're going to lose all that air that we whipped into the egg whites. So I'm going to add my 3 cups of salt, and then we'll let that fold in. At this point, a good thing to do is just to scrape the edges and get everything from the bottom so that you're evenly incorporating the salt. The salt's obviously heavier than those whipped egg whites, so it does typically want to sink to the bottom. So this is the actual baking sheet that I'm going to use for the fish, and I want the fish to stand up when I do this. You can lay it down if you like. I like doing this for presentation purposes. And to help me have this fish stand like this, I'm going to stuff it with some of this bull kelp. That's actually going to help season it as well. If you don't have bull kelp, you can use really anything you like to stuff it to enhance the flavor, and even use crumpled up aluminum foil if you need to. That works well as well. And a good helpful trick is to dry the fish off. Otherwise, when you put the egg white mixture on it, it will want to fall off. So I've dried this with paper towels, and then we're just going to evenly coat the fish with the salt crust. So I have our fish completely covered, and this is going to go into a 400-degree oven, and we're going to check it after 25 minutes. So next step, we're going to remove the crust, and that's going to come right off, and it's going to expose the fish. This crust is not something that you want to try eating. It's extremely salty. And if you prefer to eat the skin on the fish, you can brush the rest of that salt off. Place it on a cutting board, and then that way we can take off the skin and then remove the fillet. What we want to do next is remove the skin so the flesh is exposed, and that comes off relatively easy. For plating this, we had a little bit of our kelp that we had used inside the rockfish, and it actually tastes really good. So we can use a little bit of that on the side. And our fish, we just want to flake right off the bone. We can add a couple pieces of that. It may not be the prettiest dish, but it tastes amazing, so it's worth it. So there's over 30 species of these rockfish within our waters that we fish, and there are hundreds of ways to prepare the rockfish. Doing it in the salt crust is a nice way that you're able to taste the rockfish in its simplicity, just the flesh in the salt, and even with a little bit of the kelp garnish to add a little bit more depth to the dish. For more videos on how to cook rockfish, catch rockfish, and clean rockfish, check out exclusivealaska.com.